I stood on the bridge of the Valiant, my heart pounding as the vastness of space sprawled before us. Outside, our fleet of ships, a dazzling array of humanity's finest technology, floated like a shimmering constellation. This was it, the culmination of decades of planning, a last bastion of hope against an alien threat that sought to extinguish our very existence. I could feel the weight of responsibility heavy on my shoulders. Every decision I made today could mean life or death for millions. "Commander Reeve," Lieutenant Marcus Kincaid's voice broke through my thoughts, sharp and focused. "All ships are ready for deployment. We await your command." The young officer had been by my side since the beginning of this campaign, his enthusiasm a welcome contrast to my own wariness. I nodded, trying to mask the turmoil within. "Prepare for launch. Signal the fleet to form up." As the Valiant engaged its thrusters, the hum of the engines filled the air, sending a thrill down my spine. I glanced around at my crew, their faces a mix of determination and anxiety. I understood their fears. I carried them too. The scars of our past conflicts lingered, especially the memories of the Karvan skirmishes that had ravaged Earth's colonies and claimed my family. They were a reminder of how far we had fallen, but also of how far we had come. Once a scattered group of nations, we had learned from our past mistakes, forming the Solar Coalition, a united front against our common enemy. Our advanced fleet, equipped with the latest in weaponry and technology, was a testament to our resilience. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were still the underdogs in this battle. "Commander, incoming transmission from the Karvans," Marcus reported, his expression grim. "They're demanding our immediate surrender." I crossed my arms, allowing a faint smile to flicker across my lips. "Put it on screen." The face that appeared was one of disdain and arrogance, the Karvan ambassador exuding an air of superiority that was typical of their kind. "Earthlings," he began, his voice smooth and condescending. "Your defiance is admirable but futile. Surrender now, and we shall grant you mercy. Resist, and face annihilation." "Mercy?" I scoffed, unable to contain my contempt. "You've shown us your version of mercy in the past, and it's nothing but annihilation for anyone who stands in your way." The ambassador's eyes narrowed. "You will pay dearly for your insolence, Commander." As the transmission ended, I felt a surge of adrenaline. The time for words was over. "All ships, engage cloaking protocols," I ordered. "Prepare to jump to hyperspace on my mark." With a collective breath, the crew executed their tasks, and I felt the ship tremble beneath me, the familiar sensation of impending warp travel filling the air. This was a maneuver that required precision. One miscalculation could mean disaster. "Hyperspace jump in 3, 2, 1, now." The stars outside warped and stretched as we surged into hyperspace, the Valiant leading the fleet into the unknown. In a matter of moments, we would emerge at the Karvan homeworld, a strategically chosen location for our surprise attack. As we exited hyperspace, the sight was breathtaking. The Karvan homeworld loomed before us, a planet shrouded in swirling clouds of green and brown. Their massive ships patrolled the skies like predatory beasts, ready to defend their territory against any invaders. My heart raced, not just from the thrill of battle, but from the memories of loss that echoed in my mind. "Commander, we have multiple Karvan ships in range," Marcus reported, his fingers dancing over the controls. "They're preparing to engage. Deploy the fighter wings and flank them from the sides. I want our heavy cruisers on the front lines. Let's show them what humanity can do." As the orders left my lips, the bridge erupted into a flurry of activity. I took a moment to glance at the view screen, where the Karvan ships turned to face us. The stark contrast of their dark, menacing hulls against the vibrant colors of our fleet was a symbol of our struggle. The first shots rang out like thunder as our forces engaged. Energy beams sliced through the void, light the darkness of space. My heart raced as I watched the battle unfold, the cacophony of explosions reverberating through the ship. "Commander, enemy ships closing in from the left," Marcus shouted, his voice strained. "Reinforce our left flank, deploy the missile barrages," I barked, my focus laser sharp. We were holding our ground, but the Carvans were relentless, their tactics honed through centuries of warfare. As I commanded my fleet, I noticed something unusual. One of the Carvan ships broke away from formation, veering toward a lone cruiser. My instincts flared. There was something strategic about this move. "What's that ship doing?" I muttered, more to myself than anyone else. "Looks like they're trying to flank our cruiser," Marcus replied, his fingers flying over the controls. "I can't get a lock on it." "Divert all power to the cruiser's shields. We need to buy them time." Moments stretched like hours as I watched the Carvan ship's relentless advance. It unleashed a barrage of energy beams, ripping into the cruiser's defenses. But my crew was quick, and the cruiser was able to retaliate, returning fire with its own missile launchers. A surge of pride flooded through me. We were holding our own against a powerful foe. But then, the unexpected happened. The Carvan ship began to malfunction, smoke pouring from its engines. Suddenly, the ship's hull split open, revealing a dazzling light. My breath caught in my throat as I realized what it was, a self-destruct mechanism. "Get back!" I yelled, barely managing to shout the order before the explosion enveloped the cruiser in a fiery blast. The shockwave rocked the Valiant, sending alarms blaring. "Damage report!" I shouted, fighting to regain control of my senses. "Shields at 70%, hull integrity stable," Marcus responded, his voice steady despite the chaos. "The Carvans are regrouping, but we're still taking heavy fire." "Then let's give them a taste of their own medicine," I declared, steeling myself for what was to come. "Prepare to launch the orbital strike. Target their command ship." As we readied the orbital strike, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The Carvans were cunning, and we had to be ready for whatever they had planned next. Little did I know that beneath the surface of this brutal conflict lay secrets that would change everything we thought we knew about our enemy. The battle raged on, but I was determined to lead my crew to victory. With each blast, each maneuver, we were carving our place in history, a testament to humanity's resilience and strength. As the stars bore witness to our fight, I felt a surge of hope. This was our time to unleash our might and stand against the darkness. But somewhere in the heart of the Carvan fleet, a more sinister plot was brewing, one that threatened not just our survival, but the very fabric of the galaxy itself. The chaos of battle intensified, each moment marked by the cries of alarms and the ominous flashes of weaponry discharging in the darkness. My heart raced, fueled by adrenaline and the unwavering resolve to protect Earth. The Carvans were relentless, but we had learned from our past encounters. Our fleet moved as a single unit, a testament to the years of training and sacrifice. "Orbital strike ready, Commander," Marcus announced, his fingers poised over the controls. Target locked on the Carvan command ship. "Fire," I commanded, my voice cutting through the din. With a deafening roar, our missiles shot forward, blazing through the void like shooting stars. They struck true, detonating against the Carvan command ship with a brilliant explosion that lit up the dark canvas of space. The ship shuddered, listing to one side, and I felt a surge of triumph. But my victory was short-lived. As the debris cleared, I noticed a strange phenomenon. A small Carvan vessel emerged from the wreckage, seemingly unaffected. It glided toward us with an eerie grace, its sleek design unlike anything I had encountered. "What is that?" I asked, narrowing my eyes at the view screen. "Not sure, sir. It doesn't match any of their known ships," Marcus replied, concern lacing his voice. Suddenly, the mysterious ship activated a pulsating energy field, enveloping it in a shimmering aura. "They're powering up weapons," Marcus shouted, panic rising in his tone. "Evasive maneuvers," I barked, adrenaline coursing through my veins. The Valiant veered sharply to the right, but the Carvan ship unleashed a beam of energy that sliced through the darkness, grazing our shields and sending a jolt through the vessel. "Shields holding at 55%, Marcus called out, his voice strained. "We need to retaliate, Commander." "Return fire, target that ship," I commanded, my eyes locked on the enemy vessel. As our weapons fired, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was no ordinary Carvan ship. Its movements were too precise, its energy signatures too advanced. "What are they hiding?" I muttered under my breath. The caravan ship deftly dodged our fire, its agility far surpassing that of the larger vessels. I gritted my teeth, frustration bubbling to the surface. "Get me a visual feed. I want to know what we're dealing with." The display shifted, revealing the interior of the caravan ship, a scene that sent chills down my spine. Rows of soldiers, their faces a mixture of zeal and desperation, were gathered around a central figure. Clad in dark armor, this caravan warrior commanded their attention, gesturing passionately as they prepared for battle. "Commander, I think they're rallying their forces," Marcus said, eyes wide with realization. "That must be their leader. Then we need to take them down before they regroup." "Focus all firepower on that ship," I commanded, determination burning within me. The Valiant surged forward, weapons primed and ready. We unleashed a torrent of fire, but the caravan ship seemed to absorb the blasts, its energy shield shimmering but intact. I felt a sense of dread creeping in. They were stronger than we had anticipated. "Switch to boarding protocols," I ordered. "We'll take the fight to them." With a swift nod, Marcus activated the boarding systems, and the Valiant released a swarm of smaller assault craft, each carrying teams of our bravest soldiers. The ship sped toward the caravan vessel, and I felt a surge of hope. We might not be able to destroy them from a distance, but we could confront them up close. "Prepare for launch," I instructed, gathering my crew. We were heading into the belly of the beast, and I needed everyone on high alert. As we boarded one of the assault crafts, I took a moment to glance around at my team. Each of them had their own stories, their own reasons for being here. Some were veterans, seasoned warriors who had faced the caravans before. Others were fresh recruits, eager to prove themselves in battle. I remembered the first time I faced the caravans. It was a brutal lesson, one that cost me dearly. My family had been taken from me, their lives extinguished in a matter of moments. That loss had fueled my resolve, my determination to fight for a future free from fear. "Stay focused," I said, meeting each of their eyes. "We fight for our homes, our families, and for each other. We will not let the caravans take what is ours." The atmosphere crackled with tension as we approached the caravan ship. Our craft locked onto their hull, and with a jolt, we breached the outer door, the explosive charge blasting us into their territory. We stormed inside, weapons drawn and hearts pounding. The corridor was dimly lit, and the air was thick with the scent of machinery and something primal. The caravans were close, and I could feel the adrenaline surging through my veins. "Contact!" someone shouted as we encountered the first group of caravan soldiers, their bodies clad in dark armor, their weapons drawn. The ensuing chaos erupted in an instant, energy blasts flying as we fought for our lives. I ducked and rolled, firing my weapon with precision. Each shot found its mark, taking down the caravans with ruthless efficiency. My training kicked in, instincts honed through years of conflict guiding my movements. But as the battle raged on, I realized something unsettling. The caravans were fighting with an intensity I had never seen before, as if they were driven by something deeper than mere conquest. There was a desperation in their eyes, a sense of urgency that hinted at an impending doom. "Push forward," I shouted to my team, rallying them as we pressed deeper into the ship. The caravans were falling back, their formations breaking under the pressure of our assault. As we reached the central chamber, I caught sight of the caravan leader from the visual feed. Clad in black armor adorned with intricate patterns, they stood defiantly, flanked by their most loyal soldiers. The tension in the room was palpable, and I felt the air crackle with energy. "Commander Reeve," the caravan leader spoke, their voice low and commanding. "You've come to invade, but you cannot fathom the true nature of our conflict. Your kind has wrought chaos upon Earth for far too long," I shot back, my heart racing. "This ends today." A sinister smile crept across their face. "You think you understand? You have no idea what is at stake. The survival of our people depends on this battle. You are a pawn in a much larger game." "What game?" I demanded, my resolve unwavering. The caravan leader stepped forward, their eyes glinting with a strange mix of fear and defiance. "There are forces at play beyond your comprehension. You must choose your path carefully, Commander." Before I could respond, the ship shook violently, alarms blaring. "What's happening?" I shouted, panic rising within me. "Their ship is destabilizing. They're initiating self-destruct," Marcus yelled from behind me. "Get everyone out now," I ordered, urgency flooding my voice. As we turned to flee, the caravan leader's voice rang out, cutting through the chaos. "If you survive, you will learn the truth. This war is just the beginning." In that moment, the world exploded around us. The blast knocked me off my feet, and I felt the air leave my lungs. I struggled to rise, the chaos of debris swirling around me, and I caught a glimpse of the caravan leader, their expression unreadable as they vanished into the smoke. I fought against the tide of destruction, dragging myself toward the exit. My crew was scattered, some already making their way back to the breach, but I couldn't leave without knowing what lay ahead. The caravan leader had spoken of something greater, and I needed to understand what it meant for us. As we finally made it back to our assault craft, I felt a pang of regret. The caravans may have been our enemies, but their words lingered in my mind, a haunting echo in the chaos of war. This was not just about survival, it was about understanding the delicate balance of power in the universe. The blast of the caravan ship erupted behind us as we escaped into the void of space. I turned back to look at the destruction, my heart heavy with the knowledge that our fight was far from over. The battle may have been won, but the war had only just begun. The Valiant had returned to the safety of our flagship, a massive fortress of technology and tenacity, but the relief was fleeting. We had suffered losses, and the toll of war was etched across the faces of my crew. I stood on the bridge, the vastness of space stretched out before us, filled with possibilities and dangers, each star a reminder of the fight ahead. "Report," I commanded, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. 30% of our forces engaged in direct combat with the caravans have been lost, Commander, Marcus reported, his tone grim. The remaining ships have sustained significant damage. Our orbital defenses were also breached during the assault. I nodded, absorbing the information. The caravans had shown resilience and adaptability, and their new ship had been a game-changer. But it was not just the numbers that concerned me. It was the revelation of a larger conflict lurking beneath the surface. "Have we identified any survivors from the caravan ship?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. "None that we know of, sir. The self-destruct was immediate and catastrophic," Marcus replied, a hint of unease creeping into his voice. As I considered the implications of that battle, a chime echoed through the bridge, cutting through the tension. A transmission was coming in from Central Command. I turned to Marcus, who was already preparing to connect the call. "Put it through," I instructed, straightening my posture. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Admiral Thompson, a stalwart figure with a face worn by years of command. His eyes narrowed as he assessed the damage, his brows furrowing in concern. "Commander Reeve," he began, his voice firm yet measured. "I received reports from your last engagement. The caravans have ramped up their attacks, and they are preparing for something far more sinister." "What do you mean?" I asked, my heart racing. "What's their endgame?" "They're not just after conquest, they're searching for something. Intelligence indicates that they believe Earth is the key to a weapon, something that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy," he explained, his gaze penetrating. "A weapon?" I echoed, the weight of the implications settling heavily on my shoulders. "What kind of weapon?" "Reports are vague, but we suspect it has something to do with ancient technology, lost artifacts rumored to hold immense power. The caravans are relentless in their pursuit, and if they find it, we'll be facing an unstoppable force." "Sir, we need to act fast," I said, urgency in my voice. "We can't let them get to it first." "I agree, Commander. I'm deploying the remaining fleet to establish a perimeter around Earth and to gather intelligence on caravan movements," Thompson said. "In the meantime, I want you to lead a reconnaissance mission to uncover the truth behind their claims." "Understood, Admiral." We'll find out what they're after, I affirmed, determination surging within me. After the transmission ended, I gathered my senior officers in the war room. The tension was palpable as I laid out the details of our next mission. "Listen up, everyone," I began, scanning their faces. "The Carvans are after a powerful weapon, and we can't allow them to find it. We need to gather intel on their movements and track down any leads on this ancient technology." "We should infiltrate their ranks," Marcus suggested, leaning forward with intensity. "If we can plant a device on one of their ships, we might be able to get a read on their communications." "That's risky," I cautioned, "but it could yield valuable information. We'll need a small, stealth team. I'll lead the infiltration myself." "I'll join you," Marcus volunteered, his eyes alight with determination. "We've been through enough together to know we can handle this." "Agreed," I nodded, appreciating his loyalty. "But we'll need additional support. I want our best operatives on this mission." "Commander, I suggest we include Flynn," another officer chimed in, a hint of excitement in his tone. "His expertise in subterfuge and tech is unparalleled." "Flynn it is," I confirmed. "Prepare our shuttle and brief the team. We leave within the hour." As the officers dispersed to carry out their tasks, a surge of anticipation coursed through me. We were entering the lion's den, and I needed to be at my sharpest. My mind raced with possibilities as I prepared myself for the task ahead. An hour later, we stood in the launch bay, readying the shuttle for departure. Marcus and Flynn were both decked out in stealth gear, their faces set with determination. I felt a sense of camaraderie with them. We had forged a bond in the heat of battle that would carry us through this next challenge. "Let's go over the plan one more time," I said, my voice steady as I outlined the strategy. "We'll approach the Carvan fleet undetected, using the asteroid belt as cover. Once we're in range, we'll plant the tracking device on a Carvan ship and gather intel from their systems. Once we're on board, we need to act quickly," Flynn cautioned, adjusting his equipment. "We'll have limited time before they detect us." "Right. We stick to the shadows and avoid any confrontation," I replied, steeling my resolve. "We're not here to engage, we're here to gather information." The engines roared to life, and as we launched into the void, I felt a sense of purpose settle over me. The vastness of space surrounded us, filled with uncertainty and danger, but I was driven by the hope of protecting our world from impending doom. As we navigated the asteroids, I couldn't help but reflect on the nature of our conflict. The Carvans were not just invaders, they were desperate. Desperation could lead to unpredictable actions, and I needed to keep my mind open to the possibilities that lay ahead. We finally approached the Carvan fleet, a sight that struck fear into my heart. Massive ships loomed in the darkness, their hulls dark and foreboding, surrounded by smaller vessels that darted like predators hunting their prey. "Stealth mode engaged," Marcus said, his eyes glued to the console. "We're flying under their radar." "Good. Now let's move," I urged, focusing on the task at hand. The shuttle glided smoothly through the gaps in the fleet, the hum of the engines a quiet whisper against the backdrop of the vastness around us. My heart raced as we neared a medium-sized Carvan cruiser, its exterior adorned with the same intricate patterns I had seen on the commander's armor. "Time to deploy," I instructed. "We'll dock on their hull and infiltrate from there." We maneuvered the shuttle into position, and as we latched onto the Carvan ship, I felt a rush of adrenaline. We were crossing into enemy territory, and the stakes were higher than ever. With a swift motion, I activated the boarding procedure, and the hatch opened. We stepped into the cold, metallic interior, the air heavy with a scent of oil and machinery. I motioned for silence as we moved cautiously through the dimly lit corridor, weapons drawn, every sense heightened. "Stick to the plan," I whispered. "We need to find their central command room." As we advanced, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Shadows flickered at the edge of my vision, and the quiet hum of machinery seemed to resonate with a pulse of its own. "Keep your eyes peeled," Marcus said, his voice low. "We need to be ready for anything." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. echoing through the corridors like a siren's wail. The red emergency lights flashed, bathing the area in an eerie glow. "What the hell is happening?" I exclaimed, urgency flooding my voice. "Looks like they've detected us," Flynn replied, scanning the area. "We need to move, now." "Let's go," I shouted, adrenaline surging through my veins as we sprinted down the corridor, dodging in and out of shadows. But just as we rounded a corner, a group of Karvan soldiers emerged, weapons raised and ready. I felt my heart drop, but instinct kicked in. "Fire!" I shouted, taking aim. The air erupted with energy blast as we engaged in a fierce firefight, the sounds of battle echoing around us. Each shot rang out like thunder, and I focused on my training, moving with precision as I took down the Karvans one by one. But just as we seemed to gain the upper hand, reinforcements poured in from the shadows, surrounding us on all sides. We were trapped, outnumbered, and the odds were shifting. "Retreat!" I shouted, signaling for us to fall back. We needed to regroup, to find another way to our objective. As we fled, I felt a mixture of anger and fear coursing through me. The Karvans were more formidable than I had anticipated, and our mission was at risk of failing. I couldn't allow that to happen. "Head to the auxiliary control room," I yelled, leading the way as we navigated through the maze-like structure of the ship. We needed a plan, a way to turn the tide before it was too late. But as we ducked into a side corridor, I suddenly found myself face to face with the Karvan leader from before, their dark armor glinting menacingly in the low light. "So, we meet again, Commander Reeve," they said, their voice smooth and calm amidst the chaos. I felt a surge of defiance. "You won't win this time. I'll stop you." The Karvan leader's lips curled into a smile, one that sent chills down my spine. "You still don't understand, do you? This conflict is about much more than you can comprehend. The fate of your world is intertwined with ours." I raised my weapon, determined not to falter. "You've caused enough pain. I won't let you hurt anyone else." Their gaze intensified, a flicker of something fear or regret passing through their eyes. "Then you must prepare for the truth, Commander. The weapon you seek to destroy may be the very thing that saves you." Before I could respond, they vanished into the shadows, leaving me standing there, breathless and confused. I exchanged glances with Marcus and Flynn, uncertainty hanging in the air. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my mind racing with possibilities. What could they mean? "I don't know, but we can't let it distract us," Marcus said, shaking his head. "We need to focus on the mission." "Right. Let's regroup and find that control room. We need to access their systems and get that intel," I replied, steeling my resolve. As we pressed forward, I couldn't shake the feeling that the Karvans were hiding something significant, something that could change everything. This conflict was deeper than mere conquest. It was a battle for the very fate of the galaxy, and we were caught in the middle. We continued down the corridor, the echo of our hurried footsteps mingling with the distant sounds of chaos unfolding within the Karvan ship. My heart pounded in my chest as adrenaline coursed through my veins, fueling my determination to complete our mission. Each passing moment felt like a countdown, and I knew we had to find that control room before we were overwhelmed. "Keep moving," I urged, glancing over my shoulder to ensure Marcus and Flynn were close behind. "We need to access their systems before they lock down the ship." As we approached a series of doors, I spotted a control panel nearby. "Flynn, can you bypass that lock?" I asked, gesturing toward it. "On it," he replied, moving swiftly to the panel. His fingers flew over the controls, and I held my breath, the tension in the air palpable. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a small room filled with blinking consoles and screens, each displaying streams of Karvan data. "This must be it," I exclaimed, stepping inside and scanning the area. "Let's hope we can find some information on their movements," Marcus said, his eyes darting across the screens. I moved to the main console, connecting my own device to access their systems. "I'll pull up their communication logs. If we can find out where they're headed, we might be able to cut them off." As I navigated through the Carvan interfaces, I felt a rush of exhilaration when I found what I was looking for. Got it. There's a transmission about a location they refer to as the Heart of the Ancients. It seems to be where they believe this weapon is hidden. Can you pinpoint its location? Marcus asked, leaning in closer. Yeah, hold on, I replied, working quickly. A map of the galaxy flickered to life on the screen, and I highlighted the coordinates. There, it's in an uncharted region, far from their main territories. Let's relay this to the fleet, Flynn said, moving to send the information. Before he could complete the transmission, the alarms blared once more, louder and more insistent this time. The room shook as the Carvans initiated a lockdown. We've been made, Marcus shouted, urgency coloring his voice. We need to get out of here. I quickly disconnected my device, and we dashed for the door just as it slammed shut. The heavy sound reverberated through the room, and I could hear the sounds of Carvan soldiers approaching. Back to the shuttle, I commanded, adrenaline propelling us forward. We sprinted through the corridors, dodging Carvans and their relentless pursuit. My mind raced as I tried to plan our escape route, but the ship was a maze of twists and turns. The narrow hallways felt like a trap, and I could feel the pressure mounting. We need a diversion, Flynn shouted, glancing at a series of power conduits lining the walls. If we can blow a few of those, it might buy us enough time to escape. Do it, I ordered, and we hurried to the nearest conduit. Flynn quickly rigged an explosive charge while Marcus and I stood guard, watching for any signs of the Carvans. Charge set, Flynn called out, and I nodded. Let's move, I urged, and we sprinted down the corridor, adrenaline surging as the charge detonated behind us. The explosion rocked the ship, sending a shockwave through the hallways and buying us precious seconds. As we ran, I could hear the alarms blaring and the chaos behind us. I didn't dare look back, focusing instead on the path ahead. We were nearing the docking bay where our shuttle awaited, and my heart raced with the prospect of escape. Almost there, Marcus called, his voice laced with determination. Just as we rounded the final corner, we skidded to a halt. A group of Carvan soldiers blocked our path, weapons raised and ready. Stand down, humans, their leader shouted, their voice filled with authority. You will not escape. I felt a surge of defiance rising within me. We're not going down without a fight. With that, we charged forward, weapons drawn. Energy blasts lit up the corridor as we engaged in a fierce firefight, each movement calculated and precise. The Carvans fought fiercely, but we were driven by the knowledge that our home depended on our success. Cover me, I shouted, diving for cover as I returned fire. The staccato of weaponry filled the air, and I could feel the adrenaline pumping through my veins, urging me to push harder. As the Carvans fell, I could see our shuttle just ahead, the escape hatch wide open and waiting. To the shuttle, I yelled, making a break for it. We sprinted towards our craft, weaving through the remaining Carvan soldiers. Just as I reached the entrance, a blaster bolt grazed my shoulder, sending a shock of pain through me. I gritted my teeth and pressed on, diving into the shuttle as Marcus and Flynn followed close behind. Get us out of here, I shouted, slamming the hatch shut as Flynn took the pilot's seat. He activated the engines, and the shuttle roared to life, shaking with the power of its thrust. Hang on, Flynn called, and we shot forward, narrowly avoiding a volley of energy blasts aimed at us. The Carvans were relentless, pursuing us with their smaller ships, but I felt a surge of exhilaration as we broke free from the confines of their vessel. The vastness of space opened up before us, a reminder of the freedom we fought to protect. Set a course for Earth, I commanded, gripping the armrest as Flynn maneuvered through the chaos. We need to warn the fleet about the Heart of the Ancients. Already on it, he replied, fingers flying over the controls as he deftly navigated us through the debris of the Carvan ships. As we soared through the stars, I felt a mix of triumph and anxiety. We had escaped, but the battle was far from over. The Carvans would not stop until they had what they wanted, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this conflict than we had uncovered. Prepare to transmit the data, I instructed Flynn as we cleared the Carven fleet. We need to inform Admiral Thompson about our findings. Transmitting now, he confirmed, a determined look on his face. As we relayed the information, I couldn't help but feel the weight of our discovery pressing on my shoulders. The heart of the ancients was not just a location, it was a key to our survival. "Commander," Marcus said, breaking into my thoughts. "Do you really think this weapon could change the tide of war?" "I have to believe it can," I replied, meeting his gaze. "If the Carvons think it's important enough to fight for, then it's crucial that we understand what it is and why they want it." The journey back to Earth felt both like an eternity and a fleeting moment. The stars blurred past us, each pinprick of light a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the challenges ahead. I sat in the shuttle's cockpit, my mind racing with thoughts of the Carvan conflict, the mysterious weapon, and the secrets hidden within the heart of the ancients. "Entering Earth's orbit in 5 minutes," Flynn announced, his voice steady despite the tension that hung in the air. "Prepare for immediate transmission to the fleet," I instructed, my fingers tapping nervously against the armrest. "We need to get this intel to Admiral Thompson before the Carvans regroup." "Acknowledged," Flynn replied, his focus unwavering as he adjusted our approach trajectory. As we descended through the atmosphere, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Home. Earth was a familiar sight, a blue marble suspended in the void, and it was our duty to protect it from the alien threat. "Hold steady," I cautioned, gripping the edge of my seat as Flynn expertly piloted the shuttle towards the docking bay of the flagship, US Valor. The ship loomed larger as we drew closer, its silhouette imposing against the backdrop of space. A shudder ran through the shuttle as we made contact, the clamps engaging with a firm click. "Welcome back, Commander Reeve," the voice of the ship's AI, Athena, chimed in as we disembarked. "Admiral Thompson is awaiting your report." "Thanks, Athena," I said, exchanging a glance with Marcus and Flynn before we stepped into the bustling corridors of the Valor. The ship buzzed with activity, crew members moving purposefully as they prepared for the impending conflict. We made our way to the command center, where Admiral Thompson stood, flanked by his senior officers. He looked up as we entered, his expression a mixture of concern and anticipation. "Commander Reeve, report," he commanded, his voice steady. I stepped forward, swallowing the anxiety that threatened to creep in. "Admiral, we encountered Carvan forces during our mission. They're seeking a location they refer to as the Heart of the Ancients. I managed to extract data on its coordinates and their communications regarding a weapon of immense power." The room fell silent as the implications of my words sunk in. Thompson's brow furrowed, and he gestured for me to continue. "From what we gathered, the Carvans believe this weapon could turn the tide of the war in their favor. We need to act quickly to prevent them from obtaining it," I explained, the urgency of the situation weighing heavily on me. "Did you learn anything about the weapon itself?" Thompson pressed, his tone serious. "No, sir. The details were heavily encrypted. We need to analyze the data further to uncover its nature and potential capabilities," I replied, frustration tinging my voice. Thompson nodded, deep in thought. "We'll assemble a strike team to investigate these coordinates. We can't allow the Carvans to harness whatever power lies within the heart of the ancients." I felt a surge of determination. "I want to lead the team, sir. We have to get there first." He considered my request for a moment, the weight of responsibility evident on his shoulders. "Very well, Commander. You'll lead the reconnaissance mission. Gather your team and prepare for departure in 1 hour." As I turned to leave, Marcus clapped a hand on my shoulder. "We've got your back, Commander. Whatever's waiting for us out there, we'll face it together." Flynn nodded, determination etched on his face. "Count me in. Let's show those Carvans what Earth's got." With renewed purpose, we headed back to the shuttle bay. I could feel the adrenaline surging through me, igniting a fire within as we prepared for the mission ahead. As we suited up, I ran through our strategy in my mind. The coordinates pointed to a desolate region of space, an area riddled with cosmic debris and uncharted anomalies. We would need to navigate carefully to avoid detection and ensure a safe approach to the heart of the ancients. Once we were ready, we boarded the shuttle, the familiar hum of the engines vibrating beneath us. "Let's move," I commanded, taking my seat at the controls as Flynn prepped the systems for launch. As we lifted off from the Valor, I glanced back at Earth, a mixture of pride and determination surging within me. I was fighting not just for our world, but for the future of humanity. The stars flickered outside the cockpit as we entered hyperspace, the ship accelerating towards our destination. The journey felt surreal, each second stretching into infinity as anticipation gnawed at my insides. After what felt like hours, we finally emerged from hyperspace, the coordinates displaying a vast expanse of emptiness ahead. "There's nothing here," Flynn muttered, scanning the surrounding area. "Keep an eye out for anything unusual," I replied, my instincts on high alert. The caravans could be hiding something. As we advanced deeper into the desolate void, a faint glow began to emerge in the distance. "Commander, I'm picking up energy readings," Flynn announced, his eyes widening. "It's coming from that anomaly." The anomaly flickered with pulsating energy, a swirling mass of colors that seemed almost alive. "That must be it," I said, my heart racing. "Prepare for approach." As we neared the anomaly, the shuttle's systems began to tremble, warnings flashing across the console. "Something's not right," Flynn shouted, trying to stabilize the controls. "Steady," I barked, fighting to maintain our trajectory. "We need to get closer to scan the area." Suddenly, a surge of energy shot out from the anomaly, striking our shuttle and sending it spiraling out of control. "Brace for impact," I yelled, gripping the controls with all my strength. The shuttle careened wildly as alarms blared, and I fought against the chaos to regain control. The world around us warped in a kaleidoscope of light and sound, and just when I thought we'd crash, I managed to pull up, narrowly avoiding a catastrophic collision. "Are you okay?" Marcus asked, his voice laced with concern as he checked on Flynn. "Just a little shaken," Flynn replied, adjusting the controls. "But we need to get out of here." I glanced at the anomaly, which now seemed to pulse with a menacing energy. "We can't leave without gathering data. It's too important." "Commander, we're losing power," Flynn warned, his fingers dancing across the controls. "We can't stay here much longer." "Fine, initiate a scan, but be quick," I commanded, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on me. Flynn activated the scanner, and the screens lit up with data. I watched as the information streamed in, revealing complex patterns and energy signatures. "Commander," he said, his voice rising in urgency, "I'm detecting a large structure within the anomaly. It's emitting the same energy signature we've seen in caravan communications." "Is it possible they're using this anomaly as a hiding place?" Marcus asked, eyes narrowing. "It's likely," I replied, my mind racing. "If we can identify the source of the energy, we might be able to find out what they're planning." Just as the scan completed, the anomaly erupted with a blinding flash of light. I shielded my eyes, heart racing as I fought to keep the shuttle steady. "Hold on," I shouted, my instincts screaming that something was about to happen. In an instant, the light consumed everything, and when it receded, we found ourselves in a new location, an immense caravan mothership, its sleek design stark against the darkness of space. "What just happened?" Flynn gasped, eyes wide with disbelief. "I think we just stumbled into their main base," I said, feeling a mix of dread and exhilaration. "And we need to figure out a way to get out of here before they realize we're not one of them." The colossal caravan mothership loomed before us, its surface adorned with intricate patterns that pulsed rhythmically with energy. My heart raced, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I took in our surroundings. We were surrounded by hostile forces, and our mission had suddenly shifted from reconnaissance to survival. "Flynn, can you get us into a stealth mode?" I asked, my voice steady despite the chaos brewing within me. "Already on it, Commander," he replied, fingers dancing over the controls. The ship's systems hummed softly as the exterior lights dimmed, masking our presence. But we can't stay here for long. They'll eventually notice us. Let's take a look at the ship's layout. If we can find a way to gather intel on their plans, it could turn the tide of the war, I suggested, trying to stay focused amidst the panic threatening to envelop me. The scanner flickered to life, displaying a three-dimensional map of the mothership's interior. There are multiple entry points we can exploit, Flynn reported, squinting at the screen. Looks like the central command hub is located on the upper deck. That's where we'll find the mainframe and any critical data we need. Marcus, prepare for an infiltration. We'll need to move quickly and quietly, I said, determination surging through me. Understood, Marcus replied, a glint of excitement sparking in his eyes. Let's show them what Earth's finest can do. With the plan in place, we maneuvered the shuttle towards a docking bay, careful to remain hidden from the caravan patrols flitting about. As we approached, I could feel the tension in the air, the weight of the unknown pressing down on us. Here we go, Flynn murmured, holding his breath as we entered the docking bay. The ship's sensors hummed, scanning for life signs. Once we secured the shuttle, we stepped into the darkened bay. The air felt heavy, filled with a distant thrum of machinery and the low murmur of caravan voices echoing through the corridors. I signaled for silence as we crept towards the exit, every footfall amplified in the stillness. We slipped through the bay doors, stepping into the heart of the carven ship. The environment was sterile yet vibrant, light by the eerie glow of the ship's energy systems. Stay low and keep quiet, I instructed, my eyes scanning the area for any sign of danger. The corridors were narrow, flanked by sleek panels adorned with alien glyphs that seemed to shimmer in response to our presence. I could feel the tension crackling in the air, the weight of the caravan forces hanging over us like a dark cloud. Look, Marcus whispered, pointing to a nearby console. We might be able to access their systems from there. We approached cautiously, peering over the console's edge. I activated my wrist communicator, connecting to Flynn's system. Can you hack into their network? I asked. Give me a moment, Flynn replied, focusing intently on the console. He tapped away at the controls, the interface responding to his commands with a series of beeps and flashes. The screen flickered, revealing a torrent of data flowing through the caravan network. Got it. I'm in, Flynn announced, excitement bubbling in his voice. I'm extracting any information related to the heart of the ancients and that weapon. Make it quick, I urged, scanning the corridor for any approaching threats. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship, red lights flashing ominously. They've detected us, Flynn shouted, his fingers racing over the console. Time's up. We need to move, I commanded, my heart pounding as I turned to lead the way back towards the docking bay. As we sprinted down the corridor, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed behind us. They're coming, Marcus yelled, glancing back with wide eyes. I pushed myself harder, adrenaline fueling my determination. We can't let them capture us. We need to reach the shuttle. We rounded a corner and skidded to a halt. A squad of carven soldiers stood blocking our path, their weaponry aimed directly at us. Get back, I shouted, raising my weapon as they advanced, their alien features twisted in confusion. Just as I prepared to fire, Flynn activated a nearby emergency panel, flooding the corridor with blinding light. The Carvons recoiled, momentarily disoriented. Now, I yelled, taking advantage of the confusion. We dashed past them, hearts racing as we pressed forward. As we neared the docking bay, I could see the shuttle's silhouette waiting for us, our only chance of escape. Almost there, I shouted, urgency propelling us forward. But as we entered the docking bay, a group of caravan guards emerged from the shadows, weapons drawn. Stop, one of them commanded, their voice echoing in the vast space. I instinctively raised my weapon, but before I could fire, Marcus lunged forward. Get inside the shuttle, he shouted, tackling one of the guards to the ground. Flynn, get us out of here, I yelled, my eyes darting between the skirmish and the shuttle controls. With a deftness that amazed me, Flynn initiated the launch sequence. The engines roared to life as Marcus struggled with the guard, fists flying as they fought for dominance. I rushed to help Marcus, tackling another guard as Flynn worked feverishly to override the docking controls. Come on, he urged, sweat dripping down his brow. Just as I managed to subdue the Carvan guard, the shuttle's thrusters roared to life, and we felt the sudden jolt as we lifted off. "Let's go," Flynn shouted, gripping the controls as we barreled out of the bay. We shot into space, the vastness of the cosmos surrounding us. As I turned back to the mothership, I could see Carvan ships scrambling to pursue us, their thrusters igniting in a rush of energy. "Flynn, plot a course back to the Valor," I commanded, heart racing. "Working on it," he replied, fingers flying over the console. The Carvan ships pursued us, their weapons charging, ready to fire. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," I shouted, bracing myself for the onslaught. Suddenly, a blast rocked the shuttle, throwing us off course. "We're hit," Flynn yelled, struggling to regain control. "Marcus, help me stabilize," I called, gripping the console as the shuttle bucked beneath us. As we fought to maintain control, I glanced at the viewscreen, determination surging through me. We couldn't let the Carvans win. Not now, not after everything we'd fought for. "We have to break free," I shouted, adrenaline pushing me forward. "We can't let them capture the data we've got." With renewed focus, I joined Flynn in the fight against the controls, determined to navigate our way through the chaos. "We can do this. Earth needs us." As the shuttle bucked again, I spotted a gap between two pursuing Carvan ships. "There, we can slip through." "Hold on," Flynn yelled, gunning the engines as we shot forward. We squeezed through the narrow space, narrowly avoiding collision, the sound of metal scraping against metal echoing in our ears. The Carvans were relentless, but we were not going down without a fight. "Entering hyperspace," Flynn shouted, and with a flash of light, we surged forward, the stars stretching into streaks as we propelled ourselves to safety. As the stars realigned into their familiar patterns, I exhaled, the tension in my shoulders easing slightly. We had escaped the Carvan mothership, but the mission was far from over. Flynn had managed to plot a course back to the Valor, but we needed to regroup and strategize if we were going to make the most of the intel we had gathered. "Status report," I barked, glancing at Marcus as he regained his breath, his face flushed from the adrenaline of our escape. "Structural integrity is holding," Flynn said, his eyes darting over the control panel. "But we've lost some power. We'll need to conserve energy until we can dock." "Can we run silent?" I asked, urgency edging my voice. "I can try, but it'll limit our speed significantly," he replied, concern creeping into his expression. "Do it. We need every advantage we can get," I ordered. I knew that while we had escaped the Carvan forces for now, they would undoubtedly track us down. The threat of their ships lurking in the dark void of space hung over us like a dark cloud. With a nod, Flynn initiated the silent running protocol, and the shuttle systems hummed to life. The lights dimmed further, plunging us into semi-darkness. I glanced at Marcus, who was still catching his breath. "Are you all right?" I asked, noting the slight tremor in his hands. "Yeah," he replied, a forced smile flickering on his lips. "Just a little excited, that's all. We pulled it off, didn't we?" "Barely," I said, the weight of our narrow escape settling on me. "But we have vital information now. We can turn the tide against the Carvans." "What do we do next?" Marcus inquired, his curiosity piqued. "Get back to the Valor and present what we've found," I replied. "We need to share our findings with Captain Ruiz and the rest of the crew. They need to know about the heart of the Ancients and the Carvan's plans." With the shuttle operating quietly, we settled into the routine of monitoring the controls and keeping watch for any sign of pursuit. I couldn't shake the feeling of unease gnawing at me. The Carvans were formidable opponents, and they wouldn't give up easily. After what felt like an eternity, the Valor came into view, its silhouette cutting through the darkness of space like a beacon. I felt a rush of relief at the sight. "Docking sequence initiated," Flynn announced, his voice steady. As we closed the distance, a wave of pride washed over me. The Valor was humanity's first line of defense against the Karvan onslaught, a testament to our resilience and determination. "Prepare to board," I said, feeling the familiar rush of anticipation and fear blend together. The shuttle's docking clamps engaged with a soft thud, and I quickly unbuckled my harness, glancing at Marcus and Flynn. "Let's go." We exited the shuttle and stepped onto the Valor. The ship hummed with activity, crew members hustling to their stations as they prepared for the next phase of our operations. "Commander," a familiar voice called out. I turned to see Captain Ruiz striding towards us, concern etched on his face. "Captain, we've got critical intel on the Karvan mothership," I said, urgency creeping into my voice. "We need to debrief immediately." Ruiz nodded, his expression serious. "Follow me. The war room is this way." As we walked through the bustling corridors, I couldn't help but notice the determination on the faces of my fellow crew members. The Valor was a living entity, a manifestation of humanity's resilience, and we were all ready to fight for our survival. We reached the war room, and Ruiz gestured for us to take a seat. "What do you have for us?" he asked, crossing his arms. I exchanged a glance with Flynn and Marcus before launching into the details of our mission. We infiltrated the Karvan mothership and accessed their mainframe. They're planning to activate something called the Heart of the Ancients, a weapon that could wipe out entire planets. The room fell silent, the weight of my words sinking in. If they succeed, Earth will be next. Ruiz's brow furrowed in thought. "We need to mobilize our fleet and prepare for a counteroffensive. How long do we have before they activate it?" "According to the data Flynn extracted, they plan to activate it within days," I replied, urgency flooding my voice. "We need to act fast." "Get me the fleet commanders," Ruiz said, his voice steady. "We'll need every ship at our disposal. I want a plan in motion within the hour." As he made the calls, I glanced at my friends, pride swelling within me. We had risked everything to gather this information, and now it could mean the difference between life and death for billions of people. "Flynn, can you analyze their weapons capabilities?" I asked, my mind racing. "We need to know what we're up against." "On it," Flynn replied, already pulling up the data on his console. Marcus leaned closer, excitement flickering in his eyes. "We'll turn the tide in our favor, won't we?" "Absolutely," I said, my resolve strengthening. "We'll show them what humanity is capable of." As the room filled with the sounds of strategizing, my heart surged with hope. The odds were stacked against us, but I knew that together, we could face any challenge. Moments later, the fleet commanders arrived, and Ruiz wasted no time laying out our strategy. "We're going to split our forces into 3 groups," he explained. "One will engage the Karvan forces head-on, distracting them while the other 2 units flank and infiltrate the mothership." "Do we have enough ships for this?" I asked, concern edging my voice. "More than enough," Ruiz replied, determination etched on his face. "We've been training for this moment. It's time to show the Karvans what Earth's fleet can do." With the plan set in motion, I felt the weight of responsibility resting heavily on my shoulders. This was our moment to make a stand, to prove that humanity would not back down in the face of adversity. As the crew rallied around us, I looked at my friends, my comrades. "No matter what happened, we stick together," I said, my voice steady. "We fight for each other and for Earth." They nodded, determination igniting in their eyes. The next few hours blurred together in a whirlwind of preparation and planning. The Valor was alive with energy, crew members moving in synchronicity as we readied ourselves for the impending battle. As I stood on the bridge, watching the stars drift by, I knew we were on the precipice of something monumental. The Karvans thought they could break us, but they underestimated the strength of humanity, the resilience that surged within us. "Prepare for launch," Ruiz commanded, his voice cutting through the chatter. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. We were ready to unleash our might, to show the universe that humanity would not be silenced. "Let's do this," I whispered to myself, gripping the armrest of my chair. With a roar, the Valor surged forward, leading the charge into the unknown. As the Valor soared into the depths of space, anticipation crackled through the air like static. I could feel my pulse quickening, each beat echoing in my ears as the war room buzzed with energy. The screens flickered to life, displaying the positions of our fleet and the looming presence of the Karvan mothership. "Fleet communications are online," Flynn announced, his fingers dancing across the control panel. "We're all set to coordinate." "Good," Reese said, eyes narrowing as he surveyed the tactical display. "We're heading into the Lion's Den. Maintain tight communication with all ships. I want updates every minute." The fleet formation began to shift, our ships gliding into their designated positions like a well-rehearsed dance. I could see the other vessels in our fleet: destroyers, cruisers, and frigates, all of them painted in the stark black and silver of the United Earth Space Force. They were a testament to our ingenuity and determination, the culmination of years of struggle and perseverance. "Targeting systems online," Flynn reported, his eyes darting between the displays. "We're ready to engage." The screen flickered again, zooming in on the Karvan mothership. It loomed like a monstrous shadow, its dark hull peppered with glowing vents that pulsed ominously. Surrounding it were Karvan fighters, sleek and deadly, ready to defend their stronghold. "Commence the attack," Reese shouted, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. The bridge erupted into chaos as the order was given. I felt a surge of adrenaline as I gripped the edge of my seat, watching the fleet spring into action. Our ships charged forward, weapons primed and ready, and I felt a deep-seated pride swell within me. "Firing range in 10 seconds, Flynn called, his voice steady despite the rising chaos. "Hold your fire until I give the command," Reese instructed. "We need to get their attention first." I focused on the tactical display, watching as our ships closed the distance. The Karvan fighters launched from the mothership, darting toward us like angry wasps. I could see the glint of their weapons charging, and my heart raced. 5 seconds, Flynn shouted, his intensity infectious. "Now," Reese ordered, his voice resolute. The Valor shuddered as we unleashed our payload, blinding flashes lighting up the void of space. I watched in awe as the energy blast arced through the blackness, striking the Karvan fighters. The explosions erupted like distant stars collapsing, sending debris spiraling into the abyss. "Direct hits, they're regrouping," Flynn exclaimed, excitement lacing his words. "Keep the pressure on them. Don't give them a chance to regroup," Reese barked, his eyes locked on the screens. I felt the ship jolt as we veered to dodge incoming fire, my instincts kicking in. "Reinforce the starboard side, they're flanking us," I shouted, my voice rising above the din of battle. "On it," Flynn replied, his fingers flying across the controls. As we maneuvered through the battlefield, I could see the chaos unfolding around us. Our fleet engaged in a deadly dance with the Karvan forces, blaster fire light the darkness. The air crackled with tension, each moment fraught with danger. "More Karvan fighters approaching from the rear," Flynn warned, urgency lacing his voice. "Divert the aft shields," Reese commanded. "We can't let them catch us off guard." I watched in awe as the Valor executed a series of complex maneuvers, narrowly avoiding enemy fire while returning our own blasts. The tension in my chest grew heavier, the stakes higher with each passing moment. Then I noticed something amid the chaos. A familiar shape emerged from the mothership. My heart dropped as I recognized it, the heart of the ancients. "It's activating," I shouted, disbelief mingling with fear. "We have to stop it." Ruiz's eyes narrowed. "Flynn, can we intercept it?" "I'm not sure," Flynn replied, determination etched on his face. "But we have to try." "Reinforce forward shields and focus fire on that area," Reese ordered, the gravity of the situation palpable. "We can't let it power up." As we surged toward the mothership, my mind raced. The heart was their most powerful weapon. If they activated it, all would be lost. I could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on me. "Coordinates locked," Flynn shouted, his fingers flying over the console. "Firing now." The ship shuddered again as our weapons discharged, a wave of energy rippling through space. I held my breath, watching as the blast hurtled toward the heart of the ancients. Come on, I urged silently, my heart pounding in my chest. The energy struck the heart, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. The resulting explosion lit up the void, light the battlefield in a blinding flash. But as the light faded, I realized my heart was sinking. The heart of the ancients remained intact, glowing ominously. They're powering up, I shouted, panic rising in my throat. We need to get closer. Ruiz's jaw tightened. We have to take out their defenses first. Flynn, can you target the generators? Already on it, Flynn replied, his fingers racing. Locking on now. As our targeting systems recalibrated, the ship shook violently, warning sirens blaring. Incoming fire, Flynn shouted. Brace for impact, Ruiz barked, grabbing onto the console as the ship rocked. I felt my stomach drop as the Valor absorbed the hits, the shields flaring with each blast. We were losing power, but there was no time to waste. Generators targeted, Flynn exclaimed, his voice strained. Firing now. The Valor shuddered again as our weapons discharged, striking the generators. Explosions erupted, and I could see Carvan fighters spiraling out of control, their formation breaking apart. Keep it up. We're making progress, Reese encouraged, his eyes locked on the display. But as the last generator fell, the heart of the ancients glowed brighter, and I felt a chill race down my spine. It's too late, they're activating it, I shouted, dread filling my chest. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, Reese commanded, adrenaline coursing through him. We need to get out of here. As the Valor turned sharply, I watched in horror as the heart of the ancients unleashed a blinding beam of energy toward us, cutting through the darkness of space. Faster, we can't let it hit us, I yelled, my heart racing. The ship surged forward, but the beam followed, relentless and unforgiving. I could feel the heat from the energy wave even as we tried to escape, the ship shaking violently under the strain. We're not going to make it, Flynn shouted, panic flooding his voice. Just then, something inside me sparked a plan forming in the depths of my mind. No, wait, we can redirect the beam, I exclaimed, adrenaline pumping through me. What? How? Reese asked, confusion marring his features. If we use the remaining power from our shields to create a feedback loop, we can turn it back on them, I shouted, excitement mingling with fear. It's risky, but it might just work. Ruiz's eyes widened. Do it, Flynn, divert power to the shields. Redirecting now, Flynn replied, his fingers moving swiftly. I felt the energy building around us as we lined up with the heart. On my mark, now. The ship shook as the beam surged through the shields, reflecting back toward the heart of the ancients. I held my breath, praying that it would work. The beam struck the heart, and the ship shuddered violently. The explosion erupted like a supernova, lighting up the entire sector of space. As the shockwave hit us, the Valor rocked, alarms blaring. I could feel the force slamming against my body, but I refused to give in. Status report, Reese shouted, urgency lacing his voice. Systems are failing. Shields are down to 20%, Flynn yelled, panic in his tone. Get us out of here, I shouted, gripping the console tightly. Now. The Valor lurched as we turned, racing away from the destruction we had just unleashed. The Carvan mothership began to fracture, and I could see debris scattering into the void. Are we clear? I asked, my heart racing. Not yet, Reese said, eyes locked on the displays. We need to make sure the Carvans can't pursue us. As we broke away from the blast zone, the remnants of the Carvan fleet floundered in disarray. We had done it, we had turned the tide of battle. Now we regroup, Reese said, determination in his eyes. We'll finish this fight once and for all. The aftermath of the battle hung heavy in the silence of space, a stark contrast to the chaos that had erupted only moments before. I took a deep breath, feeling the tension in my body begin to release as we distanced ourselves from the Carvan mothership's wreckage. The remnants of our confrontation floated behind us, a field of twisted metal and shattered dreams. "Status update," Flynn, Reese ordered, his eyes scanning the displays as the ship stabilized. "All systems are functional, but we've lost several weapon systems," Flynn reported, his fingers dancing across the controls. "Our shields are down to 15%, and we need repairs before we can re-engage." "Understood," Reese replied, his jaw set. "Can we send a distress signal to the fleet?" "Working on it now," Flynn said, his voice steady despite the tension. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. We had faced the heart of the ancients and emerged victorious, but the cost weighed heavily on me. How many ships had we lost? How many lives? "Look at the displays," Flynn suddenly exclaimed, his voice bursting with excitement. "The Carvan fleet is in full retreat." I turned my gaze to the tactical screen. The once menacing formation of Carvan ships was now a disorganized scatter, darting away from the chaos that had unfolded. The screen lit up with our fleet's positions as they moved to regroup, the blackness of space brightened by the brilliance of our victory. "Now we press the advantage," Reese declared, determination lacing his words. "We can't let them escape. This is our chance to strike a decisive blow." I felt a surge of adrenaline course through me at his words. The thrill of victory was palpable, and I could see the potential for a brighter future for humanity on the horizon. "Signal the fleet to pursue," Reese commanded. "We need to take out as many Carvan ships as possible." As Flynn relayed the orders, I couldn't shake the feeling that this victory came with a price. The heart of the ancients was a symbol of their power, and while we had defeated it today, I knew they wouldn't stay down for long. "Let's hope this puts enough fear in them that they reconsider their plans," I muttered, my mind racing with possibilities. "Fear can be a powerful motivator," Reese agreed, his eyes still glued to the displays. "But we need to remain vigilant. They're likely to regroup and retaliate." As we surged forward, our fleet moving like a pack of wolves, I caught glimpses of the Carvan ships through the viewscreen. The devastation we had wrought was evident. Their once uniform formations were a mess of panic and confusion. "Look at that," Flynn pointed at the display, his excitement infectious. "We're gaining on them." The thrill of the chase ignited something within me. It was more than just survival. It was a chance to reclaim our destiny, to show the Carvans that we wouldn't back down. "Prepare to engage," Ruiz commanded, his voice firm. "We'll strike hard and fast." We closed the distance, and I felt a mixture of anticipation and dread. I knew that the Carvans wouldn't take this defeat lying down. They would retaliate, and we had to be ready. "Firing range in 10 seconds, Flynn announced, focus sharpening his features. "We've got a clear shot at their rear flank." "Take it," Reese ordered. The Valor shook as we unleashed our weapons again, the energy blasts cutting through the void and striking the nearest Carvan ship. The explosion erupted, a brilliant flash of light that lighted the darkness. "Direct hit, one down," Flynn shouted, excitement creeping into his voice. "Keep it going, don't let up," Reese urged, adrenaline fueling his determination. We weaved through the debris and chaos, engaging Carvan fighters that sought to retaliate. Each explosion was a surge of energy, a reminder of our strength, and I could feel my heart racing with each encounter. 2 more Carvan ships down," Flynn reported, his excitement palpable. "They're breaking apart." The sight of our fleet overwhelming the Carvans was exhilarating. We had faced insurmountable odds, and now it felt like we were truly asserting our place in the galaxy. But then, just as I was beginning to revel in our victory, a chilling message interrupted the celebrations. The comm system crackled to life, and a distorted voice echoed through the bridge. "Humans, you celebrate too soon." My heart dropped as I recognized the voice Taran, the Carvan commander who had led their forces in our previous encounters. "You believe you have won, but we are not so easily defeated." The heart was merely the beginning. "What do you mean?" Ruiz demanded, his voice steady despite the rising tension. "Prepare yourselves for the true might of the Carvan Empire. You will witness our vengeance soon enough," Tyron taunted before the transmission cut off. The silence that followed was deafening. "Damn it," I muttered, dread creeping into my gut. "What have we unleashed?" Ruiz clenched his jaw, his expression resolute. "We need to regroup and prepare for what's coming. They won't stop until they've exacted their revenge." "Sending an alert to the fleet," Flynn said, urgency ringing in his voice. "We need to strategize before they retaliate." As we fell back into formation, the initial thrill of victory began to fade, replaced by a chilling sense of foreboding. The caravans were regrouping, and we had unwittingly awakened a sleeping giant. I could see the determination in Ruiz's eyes, the weight of leadership heavy upon him. He had fought tooth and nail for humanity's survival, and now it was about to get even more complicated. "Prepare for potential hostiles," Ruiz commanded, his voice steady. "We don't know what they're capable of." Tension crackled through the bridge as we awaited the caravan response. The echoes of Tyron's taunt hung in the air, a dark reminder that our victory was far from secure. We had made an impression, yes, but the caravans were an ancient and powerful race. We needed to be ready for whatever they had in store for us. "Flynn, any updates on caravan movement?" Ruiz asked, his eyes fixed on the tactical displays. "Nothing yet," Flynn replied, tapping commands into his console. "They're likely regrouping, but they've gone dark. No communications or sensor pings from their fleet." I leaned forward, my hands clenched in my lap. "That's not good. They're planning something." Ruiz nodded, his expression serious. "We need to send out scouts, identify their location and strength. We can't afford to be blindsided again." "On it," Flynn said, already working to relay the orders to our fleet. As we prepped for the next phase, I couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. The caravans had a reputation for resilience, and their capacity for vengeance was legendary. We had taken out a significant portion of their fleet, but in the vastness of space, they could easily rally and strike back harder than before. The silence stretched uncomfortably until Flynn suddenly broke it. "Commander, I'm detecting a massive energy spike coming from the caravan mothership." I glanced at Ruiz, and the tension in the air thickened. "What kind of energy spike?" "Looks like they're powering up their hyperdrives," Flynn reported, his voice edged with urgency. "They're attempting to make a jump." "Can we intercept them?" Ruiz demanded. "If they're jumping, it depends on how quickly we can react," Flynn replied, his fingers racing across the controls. "But I'm detecting a fleet-wide alert to prepare for a jump. They'll be gone before we can catch them." "We can't let them escape," I interjected, desperation creeping into my voice. "If they get away, they'll come back with reinforcements." Ruiz's jaw tightened. "We need to disrupt their jump sequence. If we can hit their engines before they leave, we might be able to stop them." "Firing solution ready," Flynn shouted, his eyes focused intently on the displays. "But we need to act fast. They're almost ready to engage." "Do it," Ruiz commanded, a fire igniting in his eyes. The Valor shuddered as we unleashed a barrage of energy beams toward the caravan mothership, the blasts striking the rear engines with pinpoint accuracy. Explosions rippled across the hull, a shower of sparks light the darkness of space. "Yes, direct hits," Flynn cheered, but the excitement quickly faded as the caravans began to respond. "Shields holding at 10%, I warned, my heart racing. "We need to keep firing." As the caravan ships returned fire, I felt the impact resonate through the ship. The alarms blared, and I braced myself against the console. "Status report," Ruiz barked, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Shields are weakening. Hull integrity at 70%, Flynn reported, sweat glistening on his brow. "We can't take much more of this." "We need to hold them off long enough to disable their jump," Ruiz replied, determination radiating from him. "Focus fire on the engines." The battle raged on, a chaotic symphony of explosions and energy blasts. We fired relentlessly, but the caravans were responding with equal ferocity. My heart pounded in my chest as I fought against the rising tide of despair. Another hit on our starboard side, Flynn shouted. We're losing power to auxiliary systems. Redirect power to shields and keep firing, Rees ordered, his focus unwavering. With every passing second, the stakes grew higher. The Carvans had lost their tactical advantage, but they were determined not to let us escape unscathed. Just as I thought we were making progress, a massive surge of energy erupted from the Carvan mothership. A blinding flash lit the darkness of space. What the hell was that? I shouted, shielding my eyes from the glare. They're initiating their jump, Flynn yelled, panic creeping into his voice. We've got to stop them now. Ruiz clenched his fists, his resolve strengthening. Fire everything we have left. We can't let them escape. With one final push, we unleashed a barrage of energy blasts toward the Carvan mothership. I watched in tense anticipation as the projectile struck the ship, explosions rippling across its hull. The vessel shook violently, and the energy readings spiked dangerously. Direct hit, they're destabilizing, Flynn shouted, his voice echoing with a mix of fear and exhilaration. But just as victory seemed within reach, the Carvan mothership surged with energy, a brilliant light enveloping it. My heart sank as I realized what was happening. They're going to jump, I shouted, panic rising within me. Brace for impact, Rees ordered, but it was too late. The Carvan ship vanished into the void, leaving behind a lingering sense of dread. The silence that followed was almost deafening. We had fought valiantly, but the Carvans had slipped through our fingers. Status report, Rees barked, trying to regain control. We've sustained heavy damage, but we're still operational, Flynn replied, his voice strained. Shields are at critical levels, and we've lost several systems. The reality of our situation washed over me. We had pushed the Carvans back, but their escape meant that they would return, and they would come back with a vengeance. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. What do we do now? Ruiz looked around the bridge, his expression a mix of determination and fatigue. We regroup with the fleet. We need to assess the damage and prepare for the inevitable retaliation. We'll rebuild, rearm, and strike back harder. We won't let them dictate our fate. The resolve in his voice reignited a spark of hope within me. We had faced insurmountable odds, and we had fought valiantly. This was not the end, it was merely the beginning of a new chapter. As we navigated back to our fleet, I glanced at the view screen, where the stars twinkled like distant promises. We were humanity, and we would rise to the challenge. Together, we would forge a future that would echo through the cosmos, a future where humanity stood strong against any aggressor, united and unyielding. The bridge of the Valor hummed with a familiar tension. I leaned against the console, gazing out at the stars, still painted with the memories of the battle we had just survived. Earth had survived the Carvan onslaught, but the victory felt hollow. The shadows of our enemies lingered, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this was merely the calm before the storm. Commander Ruiz, incoming message from the Earth Alliance Council, Flynn announced, his fingers flying over the controls. The crispness of his voice reminded me of the urgency that lay ahead. Put it through, Ruiz replied, his expression serious. He stood tall, a beacon of strength amidst the uncertainty that enveloped us. I admired his resolve, but the Council's frequent calls had become more of a burden than a guide. The screen flickered to life, revealing the faces of the Council members. Their expressions ranged from stoic to anxious, a kaleidoscope of concerns that only heightened my own. Commander Ruiz, the lead counselor began, her voice steady but edged with urgency. The Carvans have been gathering forces along the outer rim of their territory. We believe they're planning a counteroffensive. Are we sure they're not just regrouping? Rees asked, crossing his arms. We have intelligence suggesting otherwise, she replied, her gaze unwavering. They've begun recruiting other alien races to strengthen their position against us. This could escalate quickly. I felt my stomach drop. What races are they recruiting? I asked, my voice tense. The Thraxians have aligned with them. We suspect they harbor resentment over the recent conflict and see this as an opportunity to strike back at humanity, the counselor said, her eyes narrowing. If they joined forces, we could be looking at a united front against Earth. Ruiz's jaw clenched. What's our plan? We can't let them get the upper hand. The Council believes we need to bolster our defenses and seek alliances of our own, she replied. You and your crew have proven your mettle. We need you to gather intelligence on caravan movements and see if we can find any weaknesses to exploit. A wave of determination surged through me. We were battle-hardened now, and this time we wouldn't be caught off guard. We'll do whatever it takes, I declared, my voice resonating with conviction. We'll find a way to strike first. Good, the counselor said, a glimmer of hope crossing her face. But tread carefully. The caravans won't take kindly to intrusions, especially now that they're desperate. With that, the transmission ended, leaving us with a weight of responsibility that felt heavier than ever. Reese turned to face the crew. Prepare the ship for departure. We need to gather our best minds and resources. Time is of the essence. Commander, we've been getting reports from the colonies, Flynn interjected, his brow furrowing. People are scared. They're looking to us for leadership. We can't let them down, Reese replied, determination etched on his face. We'll show them that humanity doesn't back down from a fight. We'll show them that we can take on anyone, even if they come in numbers. As we set a course for the outer rim, I felt a sense of purpose wash over me. This was our moment to shine, our chance to reclaim our future from the clutches of fear and uncertainty. I glanced at Flynn, who was already tapping commands into his console, and then at Ruiz, who stood tall, ready to lead us into the unknown. With the stars as our guide and the weight of humanity behind us, we pushed forward, determined to uncover the caravan plans and put an end to their threat once and for all. The Valor sailed through the void, the darkness enveloping us like a cloak. We entered caravan territory cautiously, keeping our sensors on high alert. The knowledge that they were regrouping and planning a counteroffensive sent chills down my spine. As we ventured deeper, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that we were being watched. The caravans were cunning and resourceful. They would have spies and scouts out, lurking in the shadows. We had to stay one step ahead. Flynn, any sign of caravan ships? Reese asked, his voice calm but tense. Not yet, but we're entering a cluster of asteroids. It's the perfect place for them to hide, Flynn replied. I suggest we scan for cloaked vessels. Do it, Ruiz commanded, his focus unwavering. As we navigated through the asteroid field, the rocky debris seemed to dance around us, light by distant starlight. My heart raced as I scanned the displays, waiting for any sign of movement. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the bridge. Contact, multiple vessels detected, Flynn shouted, his eyes wide. On screen, Reese ordered, gripping the console. The viewscreen flickered to life, revealing several caravan ships emerging from the shadows of the asteroids, their sleek forms glinting ominously. The caravans had set a trap, and we had walked right into it. Brace for impact, Reese shouted, and I felt the ship shudder as we took evasive action. Energy blasts lit up the void, light the darkness as the caravans opened fire. I gripped the edge of my seat, adrenaline coursing through me. Return fire, target their lead ship. The Valor shook violently as we exchanged fire with the caravans. I could see the chaos unfolding on the tactical display as Flynn maneuvered us through the debris, trying to outmaneuver our attackers. Shields at 70%, Flynn yelled, his fingers flying over the controls. We can't take many more hits like this. Redirect power to weapons, Reese commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos. We need to hit them hard. As we blasted away at the caravans, I felt a surge of determination. We weren't just fighting for ourselves, we were fighting for all of humanity. The thought fueled my resolve as I focused on the task at hand. With each blast, we managed to disable one of their ships, but their numbers were overwhelming. They're regrouping. We need to pull back, I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. We can't retreat now, Reese replied, his eyes blazing with defiance. We have to stand our ground. We'll fight them off, but we need to keep pushing forward. Suddenly, a massive caravan vessel emerged from the depths of the asteroid field, dwarfing our ship. Its guns swung toward us, and I felt a sense of dread wash over me. "Commander, that ship is armed with heavy weaponry. We need to." But before I could finish, the caravan ship opened fire, the blast tearing through the darkness toward us. "Evasive maneuvers," Ruiz shouted, but it was too late. The impact rocked the Valor, and alarms blared as we struggled to stay in control. I could see the hull integrity flashing red, and I knew we were in serious trouble. "Flynn, what's our status?" Ruiz barked, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We're losing power, shields at critical levels," Flynn shouted, sweat dripping down his forehead. "We can't withstand another hit." "Prepare to jump," Ruiz commanded. "We need to get out of here." I could see the panic in Flynn's eyes as he worked feverishly at his console. "Jump drive is operational, but we'll be vulnerable during the sequence." "Do it," Ruiz shouted. "Now." As we initiated the jump sequence, I felt a sense of dread. We were escaping, but at what cost? The caravans had shown us their strength, and we needed to regroup if we were to stand a chance against their retaliation. With a blinding flash, the stars blurred around us, and we were thrown into the void, racing toward safety. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The caravans were gathering their forces, and soon they would strike back. We had survived this encounter, but the war was far from over. The Valor emerged from the jump, and we found ourselves in a remote sector, far from the caravan's reach. As the adrenaline faded, the weight of our near defeat settled in. "Status report," Reese demanded, his voice steady despite the chaos we had just faced. "We're stable, but the ship is heavily damaged," Flynn replied, his fingers dancing over the console. "We need to find a safe haven to make repairs." "Agreed," Ruiz said, glancing at the tactical display. "We'll regroup and strategize. We can't let them catch us off guard again." As we navigated through the sector, I felt a mixture of determination and dread. We had come so close to defeat, and I knew the caravans wouldn't rest until they had their revenge. "What's our next move, Commander?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "We need allies," Ruiz replied, his gaze piercing. "If the caravans are uniting other races against us, we need to forge our own alliances. We can't face this alone." "Where do we start?" Flynn asked, his brow furrowed. "We'll head to the Thraxian homeworld," Ruiz said, his jaw set. "They've been reluctant to engage with us, but if we can convince them that the caravans are a greater threat, we may secure their support. Their advanced technology could tip the scales in our favor." I nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle upon my shoulders. The Thraxians had long been viewed as a powerful yet enigmatic race. They were known for their technological prowess, but their culture had often kept them on the periphery of galactic politics. Gaining their trust would be no small feat. As we adjusted our course, I turned to Flynn. "What do we know about the Thraxians? Any specific weaknesses we can exploit?" "They're fiercely independent," Flynn replied, pulling up data on his console. "Their society values strength and honor above all else. They respect power, and they don't take kindly to perceived weakness. We'll need to approach them carefully." "Then let's ensure we show them our strength," Reese said, determination etched on his face. "We'll present ourselves as a united front against the caravans. They'll see that we're willing to fight for our survival." The journey to the Thraxian homeworld took hours, but it felt like days. As the blue and green hues of the planet came into view, I felt a knot of anticipation tighten in my stomach. The Thraxians were known for their towering cities, their architecture a blend of organic and technological designs that seemed to breathe life. I could only hope that our presence would be welcomed. "Entering Thraxian airspace," Flynn announced, his eyes scanning the screens for any signs of trouble. "We're being hailed by their command." "Put it through," Ruiz said, straightening his posture. The view screen flickered, revealing a stern-looking Thraxian commander. His skin glimmered in hues of silver and blue, intricate patterns swirling across his visage. He regarded us with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. "Earth vessel, this is Commander Jax of the Thraxian fleet. State your intentions for entering our space." Ruiz stepped forward, his voice steady. "Commander Jax, we come seeking an alliance. The Carvans are regrouping and pose a threat not only to Earth, but to all free races in this sector. We believe that together, we can turn the tide against them." Commander Jax's expression was inscrutable. "And why should we trust you, Commander Ruiz? You have not earned our respect in the past." I could feel the tension in the air, a tightrope walk of diplomacy hanging over us. "We understand your hesitance, but we've faced the Carvans in battle. We've seen their strength firsthand. If you join forces with us, we can share intelligence and technology, bolstering both our defenses against their aggression." Jax narrowed his eyes, clearly weighing his options. "Your words are bold, but words do not forge alliances. We require proof of your resolve." Ruiz didn't hesitate. "Then let us prove it. Allow us to assist in any operations you have against the Carvans. We'll show you our strength in battle." Commander Jax leaned back in his chair, contemplating. "Very well. You will assist us in a reconnaissance mission against a Carvan outpost. If you can demonstrate your capabilities, we will discuss the possibility of an alliance." I exchanged a glance with Ruiz, a mix of hope and trepidation coursing through me. This was our chance to show the Thraxians that we were not to be underestimated. "Understood, Commander," Ruiz replied, his voice firm. "We're ready." As we prepared for the mission, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. We were stepping into the heart of Carvan territory, and failure was not an option. The stakes were high, and we had to ensure our performance met the Thraxians' expectations. The Valor soared through Thraxian space, the hum of engines echoing around us as we approached the designated Carvan outpost. It loomed before us, a massive structure nestled among the debris of a forgotten battle. Its silhouette was stark against the backdrop of stars, a reminder of the conflict that raged on. "Scanning for enemy activity," Flynn announced, his fingers flying over the console. "I'm detecting multiple Carvan signatures within the outpost. They're heavily armed." "Prepare to move in, but keep our distance," Ruiz ordered. "We don't want to engage until we have a clear advantage." As we maneuvered closer, I peered through the viewports, my heart pounding. The Carvans were clearly on high alert, their ships patrolling the perimeter with practiced efficiency. This wouldn't be easy. "Commander, I'm picking up chatter on their communications," Flynn said, eyes narrowing as he concentrated. "They're discussing movements and reinforcements. They're clearly preparing for something big." "Let's listen in," Ruiz commanded. "We need to gather as much intel as we can." Flynn tapped a few commands, and the voices of Carvan soldiers filled the bridge, their harsh tones dripping with contempt. "The humans will pay for their insolence. We will crush them, and then the Thraxians will learn their place. Soon, we will unleash our new weapon. The humans will be nothing but dust," another Carvan growled, the malice clear in their voice. My pulse quickened. A new weapon? This was the intel we needed. "We have to find out more about this weapon," I said urgently. "Agreed," Ruiz replied, his voice steady. "Flynn, can you pinpoint where they're discussing this weapon?" "Working on it," he replied, furiously tapping at his console. "I'll need a few minutes to decrypt their communications." As Flynn worked, I glanced at Ruiz. "What if they detect us? We could be walking right into a trap." "We'll have to take that risk," he said, determination in his eyes. "If we can learn about their weapon, we can prepare ourselves for their next attack." Finally, Flynn looked up, his eyes wide with urgency. "I've got a location. They're discussing it in a command center on the outskirts of the outpost. It's heavily guarded, but if we can get in unnoticed, we might uncover crucial information." "Let's move then," Ruiz ordered, his voice a firm command. "We'll take the shuttle and approach from the rear. Flynn, prepare a stealth entry." As we boarded the shuttle, I felt a mix of excitement and dread. This was our chance to turn the tide, but it came with perilous risks. The Thraxians needed to see that humanity was capable of fighting back, that we weren't merely survivors, we were warriors. The shuttle hummed to life, and I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. We launched from the Valor, navigating through the debris field toward the Karvan outpost. "Keep an eye on the patrols," Reese instructed. "We can't afford to be spotted." As we approached the command center, I felt the weight of the mission pressing down on me. This was it, our chance to uncover the Karvan's plans. As we landed, we remained silent, the tension palpable as we gathered our equipment. "Stay low and follow my lead," Reese whispered, his voice steady. "We'll breach the facility and gather intel. Let's move." We slipped out of the shuttle, shadows against the backdrop of the outpost. The guards patrolled the perimeter, their attention focused elsewhere. My heart raced as we darted toward the entrance, a sense of urgency propelling us forward. "Flynn, can you override the security systems?" Reese asked as we reached the door. "I'll give it a shot," Flynn replied, pulling out a device that emitted a soft glow. He worked quickly, his fingers flying over the controls, and with a satisfying beep, the door hissed open. We slipped inside, the atmosphere thick with tension. The interior was dimly lit, the walls lined with unfamiliar technology that hummed ominously. I felt a shiver run down my spine. "Let's split up," Ruiz suggested. "Flynn, you and I will search the main control room. Jonah, check the nearby storage areas for any schematics or blueprints." "Got it," I replied, feeling the weight of the task ahead. As we moved through the corridors, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Every shadow seemed to loom larger, every sound amplified in the silence. I approached a storage area, its door slightly ajar. Cautiously, I slipped inside, scanning the room for anything of value. My heart raced as I began rummaging through boxes, my breath quickening with anticipation. This could be our key to understanding the Karvan's plans. Suddenly, I heard footsteps approaching, and I froze, my heart pounding. I ducked behind a stack of crates, trying to control my breathing as two Karvan soldiers entered the room, their voices low and conspiratorial. "Did you hear about the new weapon?" one soldier asked, his tone dripping with arrogance. "Of course, it's going to crush those pathetic humans once and for all," the other replied, a malicious grin on his face. "They think they can defy us. They're nothing." I strained to listen, my pulse quickening as I caught snippets of their conversation. They spoke of a powerful energy weapon capable of annihilating entire fleets, a weapon designed to manipulate gravitational fields, rendering ships helpless in the face of their might. "Once we deploy it, Earth will be nothing but ash," the first soldier gloated. As they continued their conversation, I felt a mix of dread and urgency wash over me. I had to get this information back to Ruiz and Flynn. I couldn't risk being discovered, so I waited for them to leave before quietly exiting the storage area. I rushed back toward the main control room, my heart pounding with urgency. As I entered, I saw Ruiz and Flynn poring over a series of holographic displays, their expressions tense. "Did you find anything?" Ruiz asked, looking up as I approached. "Yes," I replied, my voice low. "They're developing a new weapon, something capable of destroying entire fleets. It manipulates gravitational fields, rendering ships helpless." Ruiz's expression hardened. "We need to get this information back to the Thraxians. If they deploy this weapon, we'll be facing a force unlike any we've encountered before." "Let's finish gathering what we can," Flynn said, urgency lacing his voice. "We need to find out more about its capabilities and any weaknesses we can exploit." As we delved deeper into the Karvan data, I felt a sense of purpose swell within me. This was our chance to turn the tide, to show the Thraxians that we were not just survivors, but a formidable force in our own right. But as we gathered the intel, I couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The Karvans would soon discover our presence, and we needed to act fast. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the facility, red lights flashing as the Karvans became aware of our intrusion. "Time's up," Reese shouted. "We need to get out of here now." We rushed toward the exit, adrenaline fueling our escape as we sprinted through the corridors. The caravans would not take kindly to our meddling, and I could feel the weight of their anger bearing down upon us. "Keep moving," Reese yelled, leading the way as we navigated the twists and turns of the facility. My heart raced as we burst through the exit, the chaos of the outpost unfolding around us. "Get to the shuttle," I shouted, my voice barely rising above the cacophony of alarm sirens and blaring klaxons. As we raced toward the shuttle bay, Carven soldiers emerged from the shadows, their eyes glinting with malice. We had to fight our way through. "Cover me," Reese yelled, returning fire as we moved. Energy blasts lit up the corridor, light the path ahead. Flynn and I pressed forward, adrenaline coursing through our veins as we ducked and weaved, returning fire whenever we could. I felt the rush of battle surge within me, each shot ringing with purpose. We pushed through the chaos, our goal clear. We had to reach the shuttle and escape before the caravans could capture us. But the soldiers were relentless, their determination to capture us evident. Just as we reached the shuttle bay, a Carven soldier blocked our path, his weapon aimed directly at us. "You will not escape." With a surge of adrenaline, Ruiz dove to the side, returning fire as Flynn and I rushed past him. I could hear the energy blasts flying past us, the tension thick in the air. "Get to the shuttle," Ruiz shouted, his voice fierce. We jumped into the shuttle, our hearts racing as we prepared for takeoff. Ruiz entered last, slamming the door shut behind us. "Flynn, get us out of here," he ordered, adrenaline coursing through him. I could hear the Carven soldiers pounding on the hull, desperate to breach our escape. Flynn worked feverishly at the controls, sweat glistening on his forehead as he navigated the systems. "Shuttle bay doors are opening," he shouted, his voice laced with urgency. With a shudder, the shuttle lurched forward, the engines roaring to life as we blasted out into space. The Carven outpost receded behind us, a dark silhouette against the stars. "We made it," I exclaimed, my heart still racing. But as we settled into the vastness of space, I knew this was only the beginning. The caravans would come for us, and we had to prepare for their inevitable retaliation. "We need to analyze the intel we gathered," Reese said, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "The Thraxians must know what we've discovered." I nodded, determination fueling my resolve. We had fought hard to gain this information, and now it was our responsibility to ensure it didn't go to waste. As we navigated back to the Valor, I felt a sense of camaraderie with my crew. We were in this together, united against the looming threat of the caravans. "Prepare for docking," Flynn instructed, his voice steady as we maneuvered toward the ship. "We'll need to relay our findings immediately." Once we were secured aboard the Valor, we wasted no time. Reese gathered the crew in the main briefing room, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. "Everyone, listen up," he began, his voice commanding. "We've uncovered crucial information about a new Carven weapon that could tip the balance in this war. We need to analyze this data and formulate a plan to counter it." As the crew nodded in agreement, I felt a sense of hope bloom within me. We had faced the caravans before, and we would do it again. We were not just a single ship. We were part of something larger, a united front against those who sought to destroy us. "Flynn, get the data ready for analysis," Reese ordered, and Flynn nodded, already diving into the systems. As the crew worked diligently, I could feel the weight of the task ahead. We were fighting not just for survival, but for the future of our people and the galaxy. Hours passed, the tension palpable as we sifted through the Carven intel. Finally, Flynn looked up, his expression serious. "The weapon is nearly operational. They plan to deploy it soon, and if they do, we'll be facing a significant threat." "Then we need to act quickly," Reese replied, his gaze steely. "We'll rally the Thraxians and anyone else willing to fight against this menace. We need to strike before the Carvans can unleash their new weapon." I felt a surge of determination. This was our chance to reclaim the future, to show our enemies that we wouldn't be cowed into submission. "Let's make our stand," I said, my voice steady. "Together, we will face the Carvans and prove that humanity is a force to be reckoned with." As we prepared for the battle ahead, I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on us. The caravans may have been formidable, but we were united, and together, we would fight back against the darkness that threatened to engulf us. With our plan in place, we set a course to rendezvous with the Thraxian fleet. The anticipation hung heavy in the air, each crew member aware of the stakes at play. As we neared the designated meeting point, I felt a mix of excitement and dread wash over me. "Preparing to transmit our findings to the Thraxians," Flynn announced, his fingers flying over the controls. "They need to know what they're up against." "Do it," Ruiz commanded, his expression serious. As we transmitted the data, I could feel the weight of our mission pressing down on me. This was it, the moment that could change everything. Moments later, a Thraxian ship emerged from the shadows, its sleek form cutting through the darkness. The comms crackled to life as Commander Jax's face appeared on the screen, his expression inscrutable. "Earth vessel, I see you've returned," he said, his tone measured. "Have you gathered the information we discussed?" Reese stepped forward. "We have, Commander Jax. The Carvans are developing a new weapon capable of annihilating fleets. We must act before they deploy it." Jax studied us for a moment, the silence stretching. "You've proven your resolve, but actions speak louder than words. We will join you in this fight, but understand this: failure is not an option." I felt a surge of determination within me. We were not just fighting for ourselves. We were fighting for the future of our people and the galaxy. "Then let's make this count," I replied, my voice steady. "Together, we can show the Carvans that we are not to be underestimated." "Very well," Jax said, a flicker of approval in his gaze. "We will coordinate our forces and prepare for the confrontation. Time is of the essence." As we finalized our plans, I felt a sense of purpose wash over me. We had allies now, and together, we would stand against the Carvans. The tension in the air grew palpable as we prepared for battle. We would not back down. We would fight for our freedom and the future of our worlds. The rendezvous with the Thraxian fleet was swift, and soon our combined forces stood poised against the Carvan threat. The stars shimmered above us, an endless expanse of possibility. I felt a mix of hope and anxiety as we gathered for the final briefing. "Listen up," Reese called, commanding attention from the assembled crews. "We've gathered intel on the Carvans and their new weapon. This is our chance to strike back. We will coordinate our forces and take the fight to them." A murmur of agreement rippled through the room, a swell of camaraderie and determination. We were not alone in this fight. We were united against a common enemy. "The Carvans will be expecting us, but they won't anticipate our combined strength," Reese continued. "We will execute a two-pronged attack. Thraxian ships will draw their fire while we flank them from behind. Our goal is to disable their weapon systems before they can deploy the new weapon." "Let's show them what we're made of," I said, feeling the fire of battle ignite within me. As we prepared for combat, I felt the weight of our mission pressing down on me. This was our chance to reclaim our future, to show the Carvans that we would not be cowed into submission. The call to battle rang out across the fleet, and I felt a surge of adrenaline as we took our positions. The vastness of space surrounded us, a canvas painted with the promise of conflict. As we approached the Carvan stronghold, I could see their ships forming a defensive line, their dark silhouettes menacing against the stars. The Carvans were ready, but we would not back down. "On my mark," Reese shouted, determination etched across his features. "Thraxian forces, engage." With a roar, the Thraxian ships surged forward, drawing the Carvan fire as we executed our flanking maneuver. My heart raced as we wove through the chaos, each burst of energy lighting up the darkness. "Target their weapon systems," I shouted, my voice rising above the din. "We need to disable their capabilities." As our ships engaged the Carvans, I felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. The chaos of battle unfolded around us, each moment a testament to our resolve. The Carvans fought fiercely, their ships moving with precision and power. But we were prepared, our strategy in place. Thraxian ships drew the brunt of the Carvan fire, while we flanked from the sides, targeting their weapon systems. "Focus fire on that cruiser," Reese commanded, his eyes narrowed in concentration. "We can't let them deploy the new weapon." I felt the pulse of battle surge within me as we maneuvered closer, our energy blasts finding their mark. With each shot, we chipped away at the Karvan defenses, determination fueling our resolve. "Incoming fire," Flynn shouted, his voice urgent. "Brace for impact." I felt the shuttle lurch as Karvan energy blast rocked us, the hull groaning under the strain. But we pressed on, our determination unwavering. "Return fire," Reese shouted, his voice a fierce command. "We will not back down." As we engaged the Karvans, I felt a surge of hope. We were fighting for our future, for our freedom. Together, we could make a difference. "Enemy ship disabled," Flynn called out, his voice laced with urgency. "We're making progress." With each victory, our morale surged. The tide of battle was turning, and I felt the weight of our mission pressing down on us. We had to finish what we started. As the Karvan scrambled to regroup, I saw an opening. "Let's press the attack. We can't let them recover." We pushed forward, our combined forces overwhelming the Karvans. With every energy blast, we drew closer to disabling their new weapon. "Enemy systems are failing," Flynn shouted, his voice filled with triumph. "We're gaining the upper hand." But just as I felt the tide turning in our favor, a massive Karvan ship emerged from the shadows, its ominous presence sending a chill down my spine. "Brace for impact," Ruiz yelled, but it was too late. The Karvan ship unleashed a barrage of fire, and I felt the shuttle lurch as energy blast rained down upon us. "Hold on," I shouted, trying to steady myself. The chaos of battle enveloped us, and I could feel the weight of our struggle pressing down on us. "Get us out of here," Reese ordered, his voice urgent. With Flynn at the controls, we maneuvered through the chaos, narrowly avoiding the energy blast that threatened to engulf us. I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins, a mix of fear and determination fueling my resolve. As we weaved through the melee, I could see the Karvan ship drawing closer, its massive guns aimed directly at us. "Target their weapon systems," Reese shouted, his voice fierce. "We have to disable that ship." With a surge of determination, we pressed forward, returning fire with everything we had. Energy blast lit up the darkness, each shot a testament to our resolve. But just as we thought we had the upper hand, the Karvan ship retaliated, its cannons roaring to life. I felt the shuttle shudder as we took direct hits, the hull groaning under the strain. "Status report," Reese shouted, his voice rising above the din. "Shields are holding, but we're taking damage," Flynn replied, his fingers flying over the controls. "We need to disengage." "No," I shouted, feeling a surge of defiance. "We can't back down now. We have to finish this." With renewed determination, we pressed on, targeting the Karvan ship's weapon systems. The battle raged on, each moment a testament to our resolve. As we fought against the tide, I could feel the weight of our struggle pressing down on us. This was our chance to turn the tide, to show the Karvans that we would not be cowed into submission. With one final push, we unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, striking the Karvan ship's weapons with pinpoint accuracy. I felt a surge of triumph as its cannons faltered, the once mighty vessel teetering on the brink of collapse. "We did it," Flynn shouted, a mix of disbelief and joy in his voice. But just as we celebrated our victory, the Karvan ship began to destabilize, its core reactor overloading in a brilliant explosion of light. "Get out of here," Reese shouted, urgency lacing his voice. We veered away from the impending explosion, adrenaline coursing through our veins as the Karvan ship erupted into a brilliant fireball, lighting up the darkness of space. The shockwave rocked our shuttle, but we held steady, the weight of our victory pressing down on us. The Karvans had underestimated our resolve, and we had proven ourselves in the face of overwhelming odds. As we regrouped with the Thraxian fleet, I felt a sense of pride swelling within me. We had fought together, united against a common enemy, and emerged victorious. "We did it," I said, a mix of disbelief and triumph in my voice. We turned the tide. Ruiz nodded, his expression fierce. This is only the beginning. We must remain vigilant. The caravans will not stop here. As we celebrated our hard-fought victory, I knew that our journey was far from over. Together, we would continue to stand against the darkness that threatened our galaxy, united in our determination to reclaim our future. As the remnants of the caravan fleet flickered on the viewscreen, a sense of accomplishment washed over us. We had faced insurmountable odds and emerged victorious, but I knew that this victory was just a temporary reprieve in a larger battle. The Valor and our Thraxian allies regrouped, our ships forming a protective line against any potential counterattack. Commander Jax appeared on the comms, his expression serious yet tinged with respect. "Earth vessel, you fought valiantly," he said, his voice echoing through the control room. "Your crew's bravery has proven invaluable today." Ruiz stepped forward, determination shining in his eyes. "We couldn't have done it without the Thraxians. This victory belongs to all of us." As we gathered in the main briefing room, the atmosphere buzzed with energy. We shared stories of our close calls, our victories, and the fierce camaraderie that had formed in the heat of battle. I felt a kinship with my crew and our Thraxian allies that transcended the boundaries of our species. "We need to prepare for what comes next," I said, my voice steady. "The caravans will retaliate. We must fortify our defenses and keep our alliance strong." Jax nodded. "We should establish a joint command center to coordinate our efforts moving forward. The caravans may regroup, and we need to be ready." Ruiz agreed, and together we laid the groundwork for a unified defense. Engineers from both our fleets worked side by side, sharing technology and strategies. I felt the strength of our combined forces as we fortified our ships and prepared for the possibility of another onslaught. As the weeks passed, we continued to gather intel on the caravans, utilizing the data we had salvaged during our daring mission. The intel revealed the caravans were not merely a militaristic force. They had a complex network of alliances and resources, making them a formidable adversary. One evening, while poring over the latest intelligence reports, I received an urgent message from Flynn. "Commander, you need to see this," he said, his voice tinged with excitement. I hurried to the control room, my heart racing. On the main screen, a holographic display showcased a caravan base on a distant planet, an industrial hub for their war efforts. "If we can take that base out, we can disrupt their supply lines and delay their next assault," Flynn explained, his eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. "It could give us the edge we need." Ruiz and Jax exchanged glances, the weight of the moment pressing upon us. "We must act swiftly," Jax said. "This could be our opportunity to strike a significant blow against them." As we strategized, adrenaline surged within me. We were about to launch an offensive that could change the course of this war. The plan was simple yet risky, a combined fleet operation. Thraxian ships would create a diversion, drawing caravan forces away from the base, while our ships would infiltrate and disable their operations. "Are we ready for this?" I asked, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling within me. Ruiz nodded, his expression fierce. "We've come this far together. We're ready to fight for our future." The fleet assembled, a mix of human and Thraxian ships, each one brimming with determination. As we approached the caravan base, tension filled the air, but we were ready to make our stand. "On my mark," Ruiz shouted, his voice a beacon of courage. "Let's show them what we're made of." With a surge of energy, we launched our attack. The Thraxians drew the caravan defenses, and we slipped past their lines, heading straight for the heart of the base. The chaos of battle erupted around us, energy blasts light the darkness as we engaged caravan ships. I felt the pulse of combat resonate within me, each moment a testament to our shared resolve. "Target their supply depots," I shouted, adrenaline fueling my commands. "We need to disable their resources." As we fought our way toward the base, I could see the caravan forces scrambling to regain control. But we pressed on, united in our mission. We fought valiantly, our crews working in perfect harmony. With every strike, we dismantled their operations, disrupting their flow of resources and demoralizing their forces. "Enemy base defenses failing," Flynn shouted, his voice filled with triumph. With renewed determination, we pressed our advantage, targeting the central command structure. It was a gamble, but if we could take out their command center, we could deal a significant blow to their war efforts. "Focus fire on the command center," Reese commanded, his gaze steady. "This is it." We unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, striking the heart of the Karvan base with precision. As the command center began to destabilize, I felt a surge of hope. But just as victory seemed within our grasp, Karvan reinforcements arrived, their ships emerging from the shadows to protect their stronghold. "Reinforcements incoming," Flynn warned. "We need to hold our position." "Hold the line," Reese shouted, determination ringing in his voice. "We cannot let them regain control." The battle raged on, chaos erupting around us as we fought against overwhelming odds. I could feel the weight of our mission pressing down on us, but we would not back down. Finally, with one last push, we targeted the command center once more. The energy blast struck true, and in a brilliant explosion, the Karvan base erupted into chaos. "Direct hit," Flynn shouted, his voice filled with exhilaration. "We did it." As we regrouped, I felt a surge of pride. Together, we had struck a decisive blow against the Karvans, disrupting their plans and sending a clear message: we would not be cowed. The Thraxian ships rallied around us, their spirits soaring as we emerged from the chaos of battle. "We've shown them what we're capable of," Jack said, his expression fierce. "This will not be forgotten." As we returned to our respective fleets, I felt a sense of camaraderie that would transcend our differences. We had fought together, and we had triumphed together. But deep down, I knew the Karvans would retaliate. They were a relentless foe, but we were prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the weeks that followed, our alliance grew stronger. We established communication channels, shared technology, and devised strategies to counter the Karvan threat. The fires of determination burned brightly within us, fueling our resolve to stand against the darkness that loomed on the horizon. As we prepared for the inevitable next clash, I felt a sense of hope rise within me. Together, we were a force to be reckoned with, and we would fight for our future, side by side. The galaxy held its breath, and we stood ready to meet the Karvans head-on. United in our determination, we would not falter, we would not back down. We were humanity and Thraxians together, a beacon of hope in the darkness, ready to face whatever the universe threw our way.